Rain poured relentlessly, obscuring the view along the narrow road winding through the desolate forest. The lush green leaves on the trees swayed under the heavy downpour, creating a somber yet captivating symphony of nature. Nathan, a middle-aged man who lived alone in a small house on the edge of the forest, was driving home after a long day. He ran out of gas and the truck slid down the hill, vanishing into the darkness. His old pickup truck rolled through puddles, the faint yellow glow of its headlights illuminating the path ahead. Nathan cherished the tranquility of the forest. He found peace in the morning birdsong and the crisp air at sunrise. But tonight, his heart felt heavy. The unexpected rainstorm made his journey home slow and wearisome. As he focused on navigating the slick road, a small, dark figure suddenly appeared in the beam of his headlights. He saw the man lay on his back, belly out, and eyes fixed on the distance. He felt doubt. Nathan hit the brakes hard, the tires skidding slightly on the wet road. He sat frozen for a moment, his heart racing, eyes fixed on the trembling figure in the middle of the road. It was a tiny creature, drenched in the rain, its eyes filled with fear but not fleeing. Without a moment's hesitation, Nathan stepped out of the truck, pulling his thick jacket over himself to shield against the downpour. He knelt down to examine the creature before him, a small, shivering animal, its fur matted and soaked. "Hey, little one, what are you doing out here?" Nathan murmured softly, his voice gentle to avoid scaring it. Nathan guessed it was a puppy abandoned in the wilderness. Yet, there was something unusual about the creature. Its bright, round eyes, a shorter snout than most dogs, and its upright, alert ears. By the time Nathan arrived home, the rain had yet to let up. He stepped into his cozy cabin, placing the small creature onto a soft towel and gently drying its soaked fur. The little one shivered occasionally, but its eyes began to soften as it felt the warmth of Nathan's touch. "We need a name for you," Nathan said with a faint smile. "You're like a little flame in this dark night. So, let's call you Blaze." Blaze didn't react much, only curling up in the towel, its eyes half closed as if trying to forget whatever had happened earlier. Nathan placed a bowl of warm milk nearby and left Blaze to rest quietly. Nathan sensed something special about Blaze, a profound loneliness and unspoken pain that he seemed to understand. Nathan had once felt the same way when he lost his beloved wife in an accident years ago. He had left the city to find solace in this forest, a place where he could slow down and heal his heart. Blaze, fragile and vulnerable, was like a mirror reflecting the deep emotions within Nathan. He resolved to do everything he could to provide Blaze with the safety and comfort it deserved. As Blaze drifted into sleep, Nathan sat by the fireplace, his gaze wandering to the dancing flames. He couldn't stop wondering how such a tiny creature had ended up alone on a deserted road in the middle of a storm. The questions had no immediate answers, but Nathan knew one thing for sure. Blaze needed protection, and he would do whatever it took to ensure this small being would never endure pain again. In Nathan's heart, a powerful bond had formed, not just between a man and his pet, but between two lonely souls finding each other in this vast world. That rainy night in the small cabin on the forest's edge, Nathan and Blaze embarked on a journey no one could have predicted. Blaze wasn't just a creature in need of rescue, but the beginning of a story filled with meaning. A tale of compassion, empathy, and the extraordinary connection between humans and the natural world. Although Nathan didn't yet know who Blaze truly was or where it had come from, he was certain this meeting wasn't mere chance. Sometimes, the smallest moments of life turn out to be destiny, guiding us toward profound lessons about existence. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, illuminating Nathan's cozy little cabin. Blaze was curled up on the rug near the fireplace, his fur now dry and softer after a night of care from Nathan. Placing his coffee cup on the table, Nathan couldn't take his eyes off Blaze. This fleeting moment of peace gave him a sense that the world had paused to make way for this newfound bond. But soon, peculiarities began to surface, including Blaze started exhibiting behaviors unlike any puppy Nathan had ever seen. When Nathan placed a bowl of dry dog food in front of him, Blaze showed no interest. Instead, the little creature circled the bowl, sniffing it but not taking a single bite. Nathan crouched down, speaking softly. "Maybe you're still scared. It's okay. We'll try again later." That evening, however, as Nathan prepared dinner and left a piece of raw meat on the kitchen counter, Blaze suddenly leapt up, grabbed the meat, and dashed into a corner of the room. Nathan was surprised but couldn't help but laugh. "So, you're a picky eater," he said, tidying up the mess while watching Blaze devour the meat with gusto. That night, as the house sank into darkness, Nathan was jolted awake by an unusual sound. It wasn't a bark or a whimper from Blaze, but a low, rumbling noise, almost like laughter, echoing through the stillness. His heart raced as he sat up, trying to locate the source of the sound. Blaze was sitting by the window, bathed in moonlight. His upright ears and alert posture suggested he was listening intently to something outside. Nathan approached cautiously, placing a hand on Blaze's shoulder. "What's going on, buddy? Did you hear something out there?" Blaze turned to look at Nathan, his eyes glowing strangely in the dark. Though not menacing, the gaze carried an intelligence and awareness Nathan had never seen in any other animal. Day by day, Blaze continued to exhibit peculiar behaviors. When Nathan brought him outside to play, Blaze didn't run around or frolic like other puppies. Instead, he moved quietly, his ears always tuned to the environment and his eyes scanning their surroundings with precision. One day, while Nathan was walking Blaze in the forest, they encountered a dog from a neighboring house. Nathan thought Blaze might make a new friend, but as the other dog approached, Blaze suddenly growled, his fur bristling, as he positioned himself between Nathan and the newcomer, as if protecting him from an unseen threat. Nathan had to pull Blaze away, apologizing to the neighbor for his dog's unexpected reaction. Stroking Blaze to calm him, he whispered, "It's okay, Blaze. Nobody's going to hurt us." One afternoon, while Nathan was mending the backyard fence, his elderly neighbor, Mr. Jim, stopped by for a chat. Mr. Jim's eyes fell on Blaze, who was lying under a tree, quietly observing the two men. "Nathan," Mr. Jim said slowly, "there's something off about that dog of yours. I've never seen a dog with eyes like that." Nathan chuckled, thinking Mr. Jim was joking. "Blaze is special, but he's a good dog. He just needs time to adjust." "Are you sure it's a dog?" Mr. Jim asked, his tone laced with curiosity. The question made Nathan pause for a moment. He glanced at Blaze, a flicker of doubt surfacing in his mind, though he quickly dismissed it. Smiling, he replied, "Of course he is." That night, however, Nathan sat at his computer, searching for information about different dog breeds. He tried to make sense of Blaze's unusual behavior, but found nothing that matched. A part of him wanted to brush off his doubts and continue caring for Blaze as before, yet another part urged him to uncover the truth. Determined, Nathan decided to take Blaze to the vet for a checkup. He reassured himself that it was merely a precaution, but deep down, unanswered questions were piling up. Blaze was not an ordinary dog. That much was becoming increasingly clear. Despite his doubts, Nathan couldn't deny the bond he felt with Blaze. The little creature had brought something special into his life, a connection Nathan couldn't quite explain. Every time Blaze looked at him with those luminous eyes, Nathan felt an unspoken trust and loyalty. In his heart, Nathan knew that no matter what the truth turned out to be, Blaze had become an inseparable part of his life. But he also understood that, to protect Blaze, he needed to uncover the truth. With that resolve, Nathan prepared for a new journey, not just to discover more about Blaze, but to explore the unique bond they shared. And regardless of the outcome, Nathan knew that the kindness and love he had for Blaze would always remain at the heart of their story. As the days passed, Blaze became an inseparable part of Nathan's life. The small cabin in the woods, once filled only with silence and the rustling of leaves, now resonated with warm sounds and cherished moments. Blaze wasn't just a creature Nathan had rescued. He was a companion who brought joy, connection, and profound lessons into Nathan's life. From the very first day Blaze stepped into Nathan's home, the two formed routines that felt as if they had always existed. Every morning, Blaze would lie by Nathan's bedroom door, waiting for him to wake up. The moment Nathan opened the door, Blaze would wag his tail excitedly, ready to begin a meaningful day together. Nathan, who had grown accustomed to solitude, found his life transforming. "Blaze, you know something?" Nathan said one morning as they sat on the porch, watching sunlight filter through the trees. "I think you saved me from my own loneliness." Blaze didn't reply, but the way he rested his head on Nathan's leg seemed to say it all. It was as if Blaze understood Nathan better than anyone else could. After a bit, Nathan glanced at Blaze. One afternoon, Nathan decided to take Blaze to the nearby forest. It was Blaze's first time leaving the familiar space of the cabin to explore the outside world. The small, once timid creature now bounded around, ears perked as if absorbing every sound of nature. Nathan laughed as Blaze attempted to chase a yellow butterfly flitting past. "You're the worst hunter I've ever seen," he teased, his heart brimming with joy. For the first time in years, Nathan felt like he wasn't alone. Blaze wasn't just a creature he cared for, but a friend who helped him rediscover happiness in life's simple pleasures. He felt the benefits of healthier living, and his troubles passed. Blaze didn't just bring joy, he taught Nathan valuable lessons about life. One day, while Nathan was working in the garden, he accidentally knocked over a toolbox. Instead of being startled or running away, Blaze approached and began carefully picking up each tool with his mouth, placing them neatly in a corner. Nathan stood still, amazed by Blaze's actions. "You're not just smart, Blaze, you're thoughtful too," he said, gently stroking the dog's head. Moments like these made Nathan realize that true connection came not just from living together, but from acts of care, concern, and loyalty. Despite his small size, Blaze seemed to have a natural instinct to protect Nathan. On one occasion, while they were walking in the woods, Nathan slipped down a small slope, injuring his ankle. Blaze immediately stood by Nathan's side, barking loudly as if calling for help. But in the quiet forest, there was no one else around, and Blaze didn't give up. The dog circled Nathan, gently tugging at his shirt to help him stand. Though in pain, Nathan couldn't help but feel deeply moved by Blaze's concern. "I'm okay, Blaze. Thank you," he said. As if understanding, Blaze stayed close to Nathan, his watchful eyes never leaving him until they safely returned home. Every evening, Nathan and Blaze would sit by the fireplace. Nathan would read while Blaze curled up by his feet, occasionally glancing up to check on him. These simple moments reminded Nathan that true bonds didn't require grand gestures or words. Sometimes, just knowing someone was there for you was enough to make life meaningful. Though Blaze exhibited unusual and unique behaviors, this only deepened Nathan's affection for him. In fact, it was these differences that made their relationship all the more special. Blaze wasn't like any other dog Nathan had encountered, and Nathan wasn't a conventional owner. They had found each other in unexpected circumstances, and it was this serendipity that forged an unbreakable bond. Nathan understood that Blaze wasn't just a creature he had stumbled upon during a storm. Blaze was a gift, a reminder that kindness and empathy could create miracles, not only for those who received them, but also for those who gave them. The relationship between Nathan and Blaze was more than a story of caretaker and pet. It was a tale of two lonely souls finding each other, overcoming life's small challenges together, and learning to love and protect one another. In the glow of their unique friendship, both Nathan and Blaze discovered that no matter how vast the world seemed, true connection always started with the simplest, most heartfelt gestures. In the first few weeks of Blaze's life with Nathan, it seemed as though their lives were settling into a peaceful rhythm. Blaze, with his playful yet loyal nature, brought a new light into the small cabin in the woods. But soon, small, seemingly harmless quirks began to stir questions in Nathan's mind, questions he could no longer ignore. Blaze was unusually sensitive to his surroundings, sometimes in ways that went beyond what one might expect from a regular dog. Whenever Nathan opened a window to let the fresh forest air in, Blaze would sit motionless, ears perked and eyes fixed on the dense woods. On certain nights, Blaze would leave his spot near the fireplace, pacing the cabin while emitting low, guttural sounds that resembled a growl. One day, as Nathan repaired the fence in the backyard, Blaze suddenly stood still, his fur bristling as he stared at a nearby thicket. Nathan turned around but saw nothing, only leaves rustling in the breeze. "What do you see, Blaze?" Nathan asked, following the dog's intense gaze. Blaze didn't respond or move, remaining frozen like a statue, his eyes glowing with sharp vigilance. Gradually, Nathan began to realize that Blaze wasn't just an ordinary dog. The way he moved, reacted, and even looked at things hinted at something deeper, something that left Nathan both intrigued and uneasy. One afternoon, as Nathan was tidying up the yard, his elderly neighbor, Mr. Jim, stopped by. Spotting Blaze lounging on the porch, Jim furrowed his brow and stepped closer to get a better look. "Nathan," he began, his voice slow and deliberate, "are you sure that's a dog?" Nathan laughed, though unease gnawed at the edges of his thoughts. "Of course it is, Jim. Look at him. What else could he be?" Jim shook his head. "I spent some time in Africa and I've seen wild animals that look an awful lot like your Blaze. Sometimes wild creatures wander into human territories. You should have him checked, just to be sure." Nathan tried to brush off Jim's words with a laugh, but they echoed in his mind long after the old man left. "Wild animal?" he muttered, glancing at Blaze, who lay sunbathing, as serene as ever. Yet in Blaze's eyes, Nathan saw something difficult to describe. Not submission, but the essence of a wild spirit trapped between two worlds. "Plakine." Blaze gave Blaze a choice. Nathan started observing Blaze more closely. One day, he brought home a rubber ball, hoping Blaze would chase after it like most dogs. But Blaze merely tilted his head, staring at the ball as if trying to decipher its purpose. One night, Nathan accidentally left the kitchen door ajar, and Blaze darted out into the forest. Panicked, Nathan grabbed a flashlight and followed, calling out Blaze's name into the silent night. He finally found Blaze standing by a creek, emitting strange guttural sounds. Not barks, but something closer to growls or howls. Nathan wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or even more concerned as he watched Blaze in that moment. When they returned home, Nathan knelt beside Blaze, placing a hand gently on his head and looking into those luminous eyes. "Who are you really, Blaze? Where did you come from?" he asked. knowing full well there would be no answer. "Who are you?" As his doubts grew, Nathan resolved to uncover the truth. The next morning, he called the town's veterinary clinic, briefly explaining Blaze's behavior and requesting an appointment. Just to be sure, he told himself, trying to quell the unease that had been building. Dr. Evans, a veterinarian known for his extensive knowledge of animals, agreed to see Blaze. As Nathan drove to the clinic, he frequently glanced at Blaze through the rearview mirror. The dog sat quietly, his gaze fixed on the passing trees outside, as if trying to memorize every detail. At the clinic, Dr. Evans conducted a thorough examination of Blaze, inspecting everything from his coat to the smallest details of his anatomy. Throughout the process, Blaze remained unnervingly calm, his eyes locked onto the veterinarian as if daring him to uncover his secrets. Nathan stood nearby, his heart racing. He couldn't explain why he felt so anxious. Part of him wanted answers, but another part feared that the truth might change everything. The shadow boundingly descended. When Dr. Evans finally looked up, his expression was one of both curiosity and seriousness. "Nathan," he began slowly, "I don't think Blaze is an ordinary dog. I need to run some additional tests, but I have a feeling we're dealing with something unique here." Good. The words left Nathan more bewildered than ever. He glanced at Blaze, who sat by his feet, calm and poised, his eyes seeming to convey, "Whatever the truth is, we belong together." Nathan sat silently in the veterinary clinic's waiting room, hands clasped together, his heart pounding. Morning sunlight filtered through the large windows, casting warm beams across the wooden table stacked with books about animals. Blaze sat quietly by Nathan's feet, his large, intelligent eyes gleaming, as though he sensed something important was about to unfold. Nathan looked around. Dr. Evans walked in, holding a folder of documents. His expression was serious, though curiosity danced in his eyes. Nathan immediately stood up, searching for answers. "Is Blaze okay, doctor?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Dr. Evans settled into the chair opposite Nathan, setting the folder on the table. He leaned back, removed his glasses, and spoke slowly. "Nathan, Blaze isn't a dog." She sighed, then lowered her head to the pillow and consoled. The doctor's words struck Nathan like a thunderclap. He glanced at Blaze, sitting calmly by his feet, his small tail wagging as if nothing had changed. "What do you mean? If he's not a dog, then what is he?" Nathan's voice wavered. Dr. Evans offered a faint smile, not one of reassurance, but of intrigue. "Blaze is a spotted hyena pup," he explained. "I know it sounds strange, but the physical traits, behaviors, and even the sounds you've described all align with this species." Nathan froze, trying to process the revelation. A hyena. Blaze was a hyena. He looked down at the creature he had grown to love. Still the same bright, intelligent eyes, still the same adorable features he had cherished. Yet now, Blaze wasn't just an animal Nathan had rescued. He was a part of the wild, a species Nathan never imagined bonding with. Dr. Evans continued, "It's possible Blaze was separated from his mother at a young age and somehow wandered into this area. Spotted hyenas aren't native here, but migration or poaching could explain his presence. He likely survived on instinct, but it would have been a struggle without your help." Nathan's emotions churned, a mix of pride for having saved Blaze and a deep realization that keeping him as a pet wasn't right. "What should I do? I can't just release him into the wild to fend for himself," Nathan said, his voice heavy with sorrow. Dr. Evans nodded empathetically. "You're right. Blaze needs a proper environment where he can thrive as a hyena, not as a domestic pet." I can contact a wildlife sanctuary that specializes in caring for animals like Blaze. They can provide the right habitat and protection for him. It's the best option. I think we all can relate through what's going on here." "Dr. Hyena," Walter said, stepping to the front. The doctor's words forced Nathan to confront a decision he never thought he'd face. Blaze had become an integral part of his life, bringing joy and companionship he hadn't known in years. But now, Nathan understood that real love sometimes meant letting go for the sake of someone else's well-being. Nathan crouched down, stroking Blaze gently. "You're a hyena. Huh, buddy? Who would have thought?" He chuckled, though his heart felt heavy. Blaze looked up at him, his eyes seeming to convey an understanding of what was happening. In the days that followed, Nathan prepared for Blaze's transition to a new life. He took photos of Blaze in the garden where the little creature often played, cherishing every moment. He spent hours with Blaze, telling him stories, even though he knew Blaze wouldn't understand. But the act soothed Nathan's heart. One morning, as the sun began to rise, Dr. Evans arrived to take Blaze to the wildlife sanctuary. Nathan carried Blaze to the car, his chest tight with emotion. Sitting beside Blaze, he whispered, "I'll never forget you, Blaze. You've taught me more than anyone ever could." Blaze looked up at Nathan, his eyes gleaming in the sunlight. A silent thank you. He didn't bark or whimper, just rested his head on Nathan's lap, as if to say goodbye. Perhaps life was worse for his injured friend. As the car drove away, Nathan stood motionless at the gate, a profound sense of loss washing over him. Yet, he knew this wasn't an end, but a new beginning for Blaze. In the sanctuary, Blaze would have the chance to live in the environment he belonged to, reconnecting with the wild. In that moment, Nathan realized that his encounter with Blaze wasn't mere coincidence. It was a gift. Blaze had taught him about compassion, the connection between humans and nature, and the true meaning of love. Sometimes, love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go. That morning, the sky was unusually clear, with soft sunlight streaming over the garden where Blaze often basked. Nathan stood on the porch, his gaze fixed on Blaze as the little creature darted around the space that had been his home for months. It was the day Nathan had to say goodbye to Blaze, not because he knew it was the best choice for his extraordinary companion. Dr. Evans arrived earlier than expected, his small truck pulling up at the front gate. The sanctuary was ready to welcome Blaze, and Dr. Evans had promised to personally escort him there. Nathan tried to remain composed, but his heart felt like it was being crushed under the weight of loss. Blaze, with his remarkable sensitivity, seemed to sense something unusual. Instead of frolicking as usual, he sat quietly by Nathan's feet, his eyes intently following every movement. "Come on, Blaze," Nathan said softly, his voice gentle yet tinged with sadness. Blaze approached him, wagging his tail lightly as if to comfort Nathan. "Today, I'm taking you to a new place, a place where you can be free, where you can truly be yourself." Nathan carried Blaze into Dr. Evans's truck, his hands trembling slightly as he held the warm, small body close. Blaze didn't resist or show fear. He simply nestled into Nathan's arms, seemingly trusting him despite not knowing what lay ahead. "Would you like to come along?" Dr. Evans asked, his voice full of understanding. Nathan shook his head, his voice breaking as he replied, "No, I think it'll be harder for both of us. Please, just make sure he's safe and happy." Before closing the truck door, Nathan leaned in to gently stroke Blaze's head one last time. "Blaze, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'll never forget you, and I know you won't forget me either." Blaze looked up at Nathan, his deep, expressive eyes conveying an understanding far beyond what a small creature should be capable of. He licked Nathan's hand softly, a gesture that felt like a promise their bond would never be severed. Dr. Evans started the engine, and Blaze, sitting in the back seat, turned to look at Nathan through the window. The truck slowly rolled away, carrying Blaze away from the little house where he had been loved and cared for. Nathan stood rooted to the spot, watching until the truck disappeared into the trees. A hollow emptiness filled him, but he knew in his heart that he had made the right decision. Nathan tried to. On the journey to the sanctuary, Blaze sat quietly, his eyes scanning the passing scenery as though memorizing every detail of the world around him. Dr. Evans glanced at him occasionally through the rearview mirror, filled with a deep respect for this extraordinary creature. "You really are a little miracle, Blaze," he said. "Nathan was right to love you as much as he did." Dr. Evans listened. When the truck reached the sanctuary gates, Blaze perked up, his ears twitching with curiosity. The sanctuary stretched out before them like a green paradise, filled with expansive enclosures surrounded by trees and hills. It was a haven for wild animals that couldn't survive in the wild but could still enjoy a natural and enriching environment. The sanctuary staff welcomed Blaze warmly and professionally. They guided him to a large enclosure where other spotted hyenas roamed freely. At first, Blaze seemed hesitant, but his eyes gradually lit up as he realized he wasn't alone. The distinctive calls of the hyenas echoed in the distance, a welcoming sound for the new member of their community. A few days later, Nathan received a letter from the sanctuary, accompanied by a photograph of Blaze. In the picture, Blaze stood proudly atop a hill, surrounded by other hyenas. He looked healthier and happier than Nathan had ever seen him. The letter mentioned that Blaze had adjusted well and appeared to thrive in his new environment. Nathan smiled through tears as he pinned Blaze's photo to his wall, alongside other cherished pictures of nature. For him, Blaze wasn't just an animal he had rescued. He was an integral part of Nathan's journey. Nathan knew he would no longer hear Blaze's small footsteps scurrying around the house, or see those bright, attentive eyes watching him as he worked in the garden. But he also knew Blaze was now living the life he deserved, a life of freedom, wildness, and purpose. And in Nathan's heart, the bond between him and Blaze would forever remain unbroken. Blaze had officially embarked on a new chapter in his life, a life where he truly belonged, with the vast wilderness as his home and his kind as his family. The wildlife sanctuary, with its sprawling forests and rolling grasslands, provided Blaze the freedom he had never known. However, this significant change was not an easy journey. Blaze had to leave behind his old habits and adapt to an entirely new environment. In his first days at the sanctuary, Blaze was cautious. He spent most of his time quietly observing, his ears perked and his sharp eyes tracking every movement around him. The sanctuary staff had prepared thoroughly to help him acclimate, but they quickly realized that this little creature possessed remarkable independence. Blaze didn't need to be pushed or guided. Instead, he took his time exploring and learning about the new world he was stepping into. One morning, Blaze wandered along the stream where other hyenas were playing. At first, he stood at a distance, hesitant to approach, but his eyes were filled with curiosity. A mature hyena cautiously approached Blaze, emitting soft calls as a gesture of welcome. Blaze hesitated, then slowly stepped forward, finding his first connection with his new kind. Day by day, Blaze grew more comfortable. He began participating in group activities, from hunting to social games. The sanctuary staff noted that although Blaze was smaller than some of the other hyenas, he displayed exceptional intelligence and agility. He quickly adapted to his wild instincts while retaining the unique traits he had developed during his time with Nathan. Blaze often perched atop the highest hills, his eyes gazing into the distance as if searching for something. Perhaps deep down, Blaze still remembered Nathan, the man who saved his life and gave him his first taste of love. Instead of appearing sorrowful, Blaze carried those memories as a source of strength, helping him become a part of the natural world where he truly belonged. Not only did Blaze integrate into the group, but he also emerged as a key member. The other hyenas seemed to recognize Blaze's special qualities, his agility, intelligence, and courage. On one occasion, while the group was hunting, Blaze was the first to sense danger from a nearby lion. He let out warning calls, enabling the group to retreat in time, avoiding harm. These actions earned Blaze recognition from the sanctuary staff, who affectionately dubbed him the Little Trailblazer, a name that was both enduring and a source of pride. From being a lost creature, Blaze had found his place and purpose in the wild. Although Blaze's new life brought him freedom and joy, he never forgot his old friend. On some afternoons, Blaze would leave the group and wander alone through the sanctuary. He sought out quiet spots where sunlight filtered through the trees, creating a warm ambiance reminiscent of Nathan's cozy home. Blaze would lie down, his eyes half closed, seemingly reminiscing about the peaceful days spent with his former owner. The sanctuary staff often observed Blaze sitting quietly, and they understood that the bond between Blaze and Nathan remained unbroken. They decided to send Nathan photos and videos of Blaze, ensuring him that his little companion was thriving and happy. One day, Nathan received a letter from the sanctuary. It detailed Blaze's incredible adaptation, how he had found a new family and become a vital part of the hyena group. Enclosed was a photograph of Blaze standing proudly atop a hill, his bright eyes shining and his stance exuding strength and vitality. Nathan sat quietly, gazing at the photo, a mix of pride and emotion filling his heart. He knew that letting Blaze go was the right decision, but it didn't lessen the love he felt for him. Blaze had become a symbol of compassion and love, a lesson Nathan would carry with him forever. Blaze's new life was a testament to the magic of kindness and patience. From a lost creature, he had found his rightful place, a place where he could thrive and live true to his instincts. And even though Blaze was no longer by Nathan's side, their bond remained eternal, a poignant reminder that love isn't just about holding on, but also about letting go, so that the ones we cherish can live their best lives. The afternoon sunlight gently filtered through the trees in the wildlife sanctuary, where Blaze had now found his true home. Standing atop a high hill, the wind ruffled his soft fur as his bright eyes gazed toward the horizon. Perhaps in that distant expanse, Blaze still remembered Nathan, the first friend who had opened his arms to him during the hardest moments. Blaze's story was more than a personal journey. It became a symbol of kindness, compassion, and profound lessons about love. Blaze and Nathan's story is a poignant reminder that connections don't have to stem from similarities, but from empathy and understanding. Nathan and Blaze, two beings from entirely different worlds, found each other in their most vulnerable moments. It was Nathan's genuine affection that broke through every barrier, and it was Blaze's loyalty that helped Nathan rediscover the deep meaning of companionship. Despite being a wild hyena, Blaze received unconditional love from a stranger. That love not only kept him alive, but also allowed him to grow and become his true self. This story reminds us that love knows no boundaries. It transcends species and circumstances. Even a small act of kindness can bring about profound change, not just for the one who is helped, but also for the one who gives. Blaze's journey also underscores humanity's responsibility to protect wildlife and the natural world. Blaze wasn't meant to be a pet. He belonged to the wild, where he could thrive as his instincts dictated. Nathan's decision to let Blaze go, despite the pain of parting, ensured that Blaze could live a meaningful life. That sacrifice reflects the respect humans owe to all creatures, particularly those in need of preservation. Though Blaze was no longer by Nathan's side, their bond remained eternal. On quiet nights, Nathan would sometimes look at the photo of Blaze standing proudly on a hill, his heart swelling with pride. Blaze wasn't just a creature Nathan had rescued, he was a companion who reshaped how Nathan viewed life, teaching him the value of kindness and sacrifice. And Blaze, even in the sanctuary, carried the beautiful memories of Nathan and the small home where he had been cherished. Blaze's story serves as a powerful reminder that even the smallest gestures of kindness can change the world. It teaches us the importance of compassion, the ability to see and respect differences, and the transformative power of unconditional love. Most importantly, it shows us that true love often means letting go, so that those we care for can live their best lives. Blaze not only found freedom in the wilderness, but also granted freedom to Nathan's soul. Freedom from loneliness and from the limitations life had once imposed on him. And somewhere, amidst the sanctuary's lush green hills, Blaze now lives the life he was always meant to lead. A living testament to the strength of compassion and love. This story doesn't end with a goodbye, but with a promise that kindness and love are always present, waiting for us to embrace them. Though Blaze and Nathan now exist in separate worlds, their bond will forever be a symbol of love and hope, a story we carry in our hearts as a testament to the enduring power of connection.